All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come back into session. Thank you for your patience. It's been a long night.
7 hours.
We're kind of getting used to this. I think every meeting ought to be this way, but I say that in jest because I'm a little tired.
You're punchy.
Commissioner Hyde.
Yes. So we have a motion on the table and a motion in a second, so it's time to talk about it or vote. So I'd like to make a comment.
Go right ahead, sir.
The first really kind of simple item, which may mean nothing after my next comment, is that 5.6 on the HIAL amended document is the same as the non-amended document, which is 55 decibels and 70 decibels. That's just an administrative thing. When I first proposed these amendments, I was thinking I was helping solve a problem, and I think I was part of it because some of the people who are in the conditional use area are certainly happier if it went through that way. But since then, I've done considerable learning, especially about the aquifer and the Rio Grande Rift, etc. And if I were to vote on this, I would have to vote on it with some extended coverage for places like Pena-Blanca and Ladera and Coche Lake. So at this point, I think I'm going to vote no on my ordinance. When the vote is called, it's the direction I'll be taking.
Commissioner Eichelman, any comments?
Yes, in Spanish, la agua es la vida. And that means the water is life for people who don't understand Spanish. But, you know, I look at the ordinances and they're not tough enough. I still think that we need to get stronger ordinances. And I'm telling you, I'd like to see an ordinance because that's what the public demanded of this commission. Not this commission, but the previous commission. So we took it on ourselves. So we need to have stronger language. Another issue that really that I'm really concerned with is we have not consulted everybody that needs to be consulted, and our tribal entities in the county have not had a voice in this. And we need to listen to everybody, not just one entity. We need to be inclusive and not exclusive. So my vote on this ordinance would be, we're not ready yet, so my vote would be no. So that's where I feel. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Eichel, thank you. Which commissioner wants to go next?
No.
Do you have anything else to say?
Let me have a comment or two. We'll be here another hour.
Do you have anything to say?
All right. Mr. Chairman, I have a few comments to make. Now that I've calmed down a little bit about the guy attacking once again, my integrity in running for office, I just showed former Commissioner Lucero the letter I received. I know this is a little bit off, but this is bothering me, and I got to get off my chest. I was talking to retired General Franz in U.S. Air Force back there, one of the few fighter pilots I ever met that I liked. But I'm going to read this to you, and you need to hear this because what that gentleman said was completely out of line, and it was a complete lie. And I am going to show you.
Yeah, Commissioner Brock,
Well, no, Mr. Chairman. I listen to everybody, and I had to listen to that. I'm speaking.
but I wish you'd speak to the agenda item.
I understand, but this is really bothering me, sir. I just asked you for just a little bit of leeway. So I'm going to just go through this. This was from Mark Elliston, who is the chair of the Democratic Party. On February 3rd, 2017, she sent an email to the Ethics Department of the Secretary of State, subject request for investigation and report back. Madam Secretary of State, this is to request you investigate whether Jay Block, County Commissioner from District 2 in Sandoval County, followed the proper procedures for an active duty member of the United States Air Force when he ran for office in Sandoval County. Mr. Block registered to run for the office in March 2016, at which time he was on active duty in the United States Air Force. According to Department of Defense Directive number 1344.10, dated February 19, 2008, an active duty member of the armed forces shall not participate in partisan political activities enumerated in section 4.1.2, and according to section 4.2.2, may not be a nominee or candidate except when the secretary concerned grants permission. My questions are, did Mr. Block secure the required permission to run for office from the Secretary of the Air Force before he filed for candidacy in 2016? If he did not receive the required permission and is in violation of the Department of Defense Directive, what liabilities Mr. Block face and what remedies are available to the citizens of Sandoval County? Well, I will tell you. Secretary of State replied back a couple on March 24th. Thank you for your correspondence dated February 3rd, in which you expressed concerns regarding Mr. Jay Block, Sandoval County Commissioner, running for office while on active duty in the United States Air Force. Upon consultation with the Attorney General's office, it appears they can assist you in properly filing your complaint with the U.S. Office of Special Counsel, which that gentleman said. According to the OSC website, filers alleging a violation of the Hatch Act, which I did not violate the Hatch Act because I was a military person, should use Form OSC-13 available on their website at this website to submit their allegation. The Office of the Secretary of State does not have any investigative authority regarding potential Hatch Act violations because there weren't any, because I don't follow any of the Hatch Act. Therefore, our office is forwarding the matter to the Attorney General's office for review, which later exonerated me, didn't even ask me for the letter because this accusation and allegation was so ridiculous, but that's politics. Anyway, so Ms. Elliston went on KOB TV4 in April and said that I violated the Code of Military Conduct. Well, first of all, there is no Code of Military Conduct. It's called the Code of Conduct. And yes, I didn't violate it. I didn't comply with it because it's for prisoners of war. So I appreciate the expertise there. Department of the Air Force, United States Air Force, Headquarters, United States Air Force, Washington, D.C., memorandum for Lieutenant Colonel Jay Block, dated 24 February 2016. By the way, Stephen Montoya over there just sent me the letter because I couldn't find it, but Stephen had it because I sent it to him for the Rio Rancho Observer for his story. From Headquarters, United States Air Force, Judge Advocate General, 1420 Air Force Pentagon, Washington, D.C., subject partisan participation in political activity. You have been authorized by the Secretary of the Air Force to participate in certain partisan political activity while on active duty, specifically that you may become a candidate for the office of County Commissioner in Sandoval County, New Mexico, prior to your anticipated retirement date of 1 August 2016. The letter says 2015, there's a mistake in that. That's fine though. This memorandum advises you regarding those campaign activities which are permissible prior to your retirement date, as well as those activities which are prohibited to help you avoid making improper use of your uniform and military status as part of your authorized partisan political activity, and then it just goes down with some background information related to some other regulation type stuff, and then it's signed. There was no way that I would file for candidacy as an active duty lieutenant colonel without permission from my Secretary of the Air Force, so I could have went to jail for the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So that guy, man, I want to say something, but okay. I want just that to be clear for everyone on the video and you guys. I don't appreciate being attacked like that with my integrity, so if he wants this letter, he can come get it. I'll meet him personally anywhere one-on-one. Okay. Now, in regards to the item, Mr. Chairman, I apologize for going off key, and thank you for your patience there. First of all, the young people here. I really want to thank you young people. You guys are so passionate about, number one, your families, your history, your culture, your land. I don't agree with everything you said, but I really like what you said. And I love seeing young people participate in the political process, because that's how you change things. And I think you're going to be changing things tonight. For you older people, I'm sorry, more experienced people, you guys are here at a late hour. I don't know what you guys do normally day to day, but you guys are just some night owls, and I appreciate you being up here with us. And thank you, by the way, for participating in your government as well, because you're leading. You're leading, and you're showing these younger people how to get things done in local government. And that's a really cool thing. So you should all pat yourselves on the back for that, because you did a really good thing tonight. Again, I don't agree with a lot of what you said, but man, you're passionate. And I very much like that. Renewable energy. A lot of people talked about renewable energy. Mr. Steve Jenkins or Mr. Rob Preble? Okay, so he's over there. He'll tell you. The SEA, the Sandoval Economic Alliance, they go out and they look for renewable energy companies to come here. Simple. I had a chat with Ms. Eleanor Bravo about this recently. Many of you may not know or may know, doesn't matter to me, but I was asked by Xcel Energy to go up to Santa Fe about 3 months ago to testify in front of the PRC regarding the largest windmill farm in the state of New Mexico in Roosevelt County. $865 million. That's a lot of money. And they're putting it, hopefully they'll put it in. I advocated for it because I do believe in it. I am also the only commander in the United States Air Force to command a base that was run entirely by solar and wind on Ascension Island. You can look it up and Google me. There's a video there of it. Granted, it didn't work well. I will tell you that. It was very hard on the generators because the windmills didn't work. The solar wasn't as good as we thought because of the battery issues and storage. And we had a desal plant to get us our water, and it was it impacted mission ops a little bit, but we had the generator there, so it didn't work well down there in 2008, 2009 when I was the commander down in the South Atlantic on that island. Great assignment, by the way, on the fishing boat. So, what I also want to talk about with renewable energy is I want you guys, how passionate you are to go to Santa Fe and get rid of GRT. Because GRT is an anti-business tax and it keeps businesses away from New Mexico, and that's why we're getting our butts kicked by Arizona, Texas, Colorado, Utah, Oklahoma. It's that simple. We got to get rid of GRT. Representative Jason Harper went out of his way and wrote a 400-page tax reform bill, and it had huge bipartisan support in the House. It went over to the Senate, and it just died. And I hope Representative Harper submits that bill back, because that is the type of tax reform that we need when we get Republicans and Democrats in the House working together. So you got to go talk to your state senator and say, pass that. If the Republicans and Democrats pass in the House overwhelmingly, why won't you? Because it's good for New Mexico. So GRT, it's one of the reasons they don't come here. Only 2 states have GRT, us and Hawaii. So, the other reason renewable companies don't come here is because of state subsidies. We don't compete well with our neighbors when it comes to subsidies for renewable energy. That's a problem. We give money to the film industry. I'd personally rather be giving money to renewable energy than the film industry. That's just me. The other thing is the market. It's a small market here in New Mexico. It's a small population. Most of the population is right here in the Albuquerque area. Energy is very cheap. Natural gas is cheap. Oil is cheap. It's just the way it is. Whether you agree with the industry or not, that's the fact. It's cheap, and it's hard for these companies to come here and spend tens of millions of dollars to invest when they got to do the GRT. They don't want to pay that. They can't compete because of subsidies. So I just want you to think about that. I also want you to think about New Mexico right now, even though we have, I think, 50 out of 51 when you count Washington, D.C., the highest unemployment rate in the nation. Now we're hitting like a 17-year low in the unemployment rate, about 4.1% in the nation. stock market records. What's New Mexico doing? We're not competing. But now we're the 7th fastest economy in the country. Why? Oil and gas. It's oil and gas. This is exactly why we need to diversify our economy. Because someone said it earlier, if gas goes down, what happens? You remember 2 years ago on January 16 at the Roundhouse? It was a disaster. We didn't have money for schools, we didn't have money for social services. So oil and gas provides a lot of that funding for our state. And I definitely appreciate that. And I appreciate the oil and gas industry for what they do for jobs and stuff. I know you probably disagree with me on that, but I'm being honest with you and I gotta tell you, that's where I'm at. Once again, we talked about Commissioner Eichwald, my good friend from Cuba, talked about this before, these baseless accusations that people throw at us, that we're lined up with UWS for trash or oil and gas companies. If any of you want to see my bank account, I'll show it to you after. And if you see anything in there from UWS or any oil companies, you got me. If anyone wants to take me up on a challenge, take me up on a challenge after this meeting. So please tell your friends to stop that. Let's see. For our Native American neighbors and friends and family, you've been here for a long, long time. I am not a native New Mexican, but I am a proud New Mexican. My wife is here, my family is here. We drink the same water as you, we breathe the same air as you. I am a New Mexican. I am just as much a member of this state as any of you, because this is my home. I haven't had the chance to live in one place very long because of my 22 years in the Air Force that guy over there just seemed to just crap on. So this is my home and I love this state. And whoever did that video of the dude's mom, that was a great video. And because of that video, I will tell you one thing. I will not support the Stoddard Amendment. I support the Heil Amendment, but not tonight. I will be voting no. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Block. I am the only one who hasn't made any comments yet about the ordinance. And the process that we've been through I've been through because I've been involved in it since day one. These guys are all new. They've only been involved in it in the last 12 months. I just want to share a couple of things with you about the industry, our ordinance, and the history of the oil and gas industry here in Sandoval County. And I don't profess to know everything there is to know about it. But the industry has been here for decades in Sandoval County. If you go out to the northwest part of the county, that's where you're going to see all this production and wells and pump jacks and whatnot. And for the folks that live out there, I think they would be surprised to hear you say that there aren't any protections. I'm a Houstonian. I lived in Houston for 30 years. It is an oil and gas community. It's pretty much the center of the universe for oil and gas industry in the United States. And there's a lot of industry there other than just oil and gas. But I want to talk about the idea of an ordinance and how we got to where we are. We all are familiar with the story that an outfit came to town, wanted to drill. They came to the county started putting them through the process. They didn't want to be real forthcoming about everything, so it kind of died there. It was the first time, however, though, that somebody wanted to come to Sandoval County and drill on private land. You know, most of the wells that are here in Sandoval County are either on Indian land or they're on federal land or they're on state land. There's not a whole lot of them that I'm aware of that are on private land. So with that whole fallout from the Sandridge situation, you had the public demanding, and rightfully so, that Sandoval County needs an oil and gas ordinance. And I gotta tell you, the appetite for pursuing that on the previous commission was not that healthy. I think the can got kicked down the road a little bit before, they finally decided, well, I guess we gotta start this process of trying to develop an ordinance. I will tell you that the oil and gas industry is right where we're ending up tonight. They don't want an ordinance. They'll come right out and tell you they do not want to be regulated by any stretch or any type of ordinance at all. They would prefer there not to be an ordinance. So the reason why I tell you that is because Sandoval County, which is a county that's been around for 100-something years now, and has had oil and gas production in the county for better than 4.5, 5 decades. No ordinance. No ordinance. No county accountability of the industry whatsoever. The operator can go to OCD at the state level, get their permit, and literally we don't have the power to stop them from coming down here and drilling. I just want y'all to understand that the county has no level of accountability on the industry without an ordinance. And if you look at our ordinance, there's a lot of things in here that I've heard people talk about tonight. Roads. With our ordinance, there's at least an accountability from the standpoint, let me read this to you. It says the applicant shall submit an oil and gas road route plan that identifies adequate roads for oil and gas related truck traffic for exploration and production. The Planning and Zoning Division Director shall convey the road plan to the Public Works Department Director or designee for review and may revise as needed. I mean, the county is now in a position where we're seeing what it is that these guys are doing. They have to submit a plan to the county. Without an ordinance, we don't get that. I just want you guys to understand what we're talking about here. The road plan or the Public Works Department Director or designee may require modification or of affected county roads consistent with county standards prior to utilization by the applicant. The Public Works Department Director or designee shall issue a determination to accept or deny the road plan within 30 days. They submit a plan to us, we review it, we decide whether it's an adequate road plan or not. With no ordinance, we don't have that. In the event that the Public Works Department Director does not provide a determination on the submitted road plan, then the application goes through anyway. But the point is, there has to be a plan submitted to us by the operator with an ordinance. Without it, no plan. Not provided to the county. How about an emergency response plan? It's the same scenario. The applicant must submit an emergency response plan identifying all fire, police, emergency response services in the county that are closest to the well site and a description of the standard operating procedures including applicable health, safety, and environmental protocols that the operator will use in the event of emergencies. You guys don't want that because you don't want an ordinance. I mean, no. You want it, right? You want it, but you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it without an ordinance, is what I'm trying to tell you. It's in our ordinance. Yeah, and I understand what you're saying with you want a better ordinance. But let me explain one thing to you. If you're going to try and regulate above and beyond the current regulations that are out there,
How do you vote?
that's how you get sued. So, well, I think you know how I'm going to vote. I would vote for an ordinance. I mean, I'd rather have something than nothing.
Yes?
Yeah, that would be voting for the ordinance, wouldn't it?
Yeah, 4-1.
my point is, I think it's better to have something than nothing, but if you guys disagree, I'm good with that. We've heard ad nauseum that you guys don't want an ordinance. That's what we've heard. That's what I've heard. You want protections, but you don't want to have anything in place to have them. So with no ordinance, we're right back where we were. Just hear me out. We're right back where we've been for the last 50 plus years that the industry's been here. No ordinance. So, it's the other thing that we shared with the governors when we met with them is the fact that our ordinance, this ordinance, any ordinance that the county has is a living, breathing document, which means that it can be modified, amended, changed when the circumstance dictates it. Future commissions here in Sandoval County, if they decided that they wanted something additional in the ordinance, they would have the ability to do it. I know I'm not going to win you guys over for an ordinance, that's obvious, but I believe having an ordinance is better than having nothing, which is where we've been for the last 100 years without an oil and gas ordinance. At this point, the only thing left to do is to vote. We have to vote. We have to get it on the public record as to what the vote is. So we've had a motion, we've had a second. If there aren't any other comments, then we'll have the vote. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Vice Chair Ohio?
No.
Commissioner Block?
No.
Commissioner Holden Rhodes?
No.
Commissioner Eichel?
No,
Chair Chapman?
I'm going to vote, and I want to explain my vote. I'm going to vote yes for an ordinance. It may not be the ordinance that everybody wants, but I believe it's something better to have something than nothing at all. I would prefer to have a road plan submitted to me. I would prefer to have an emergency response plan submitted to me. I would prefer to have stipulations on what is the level of noise that you can generate, what is the level of lighting that you can generate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Without that, ladies and gentlemen, the county has no control over the industry or no accountability. We can move on now to agenda item 11B. Thank you, folks. If you want to leave, you're free to do so. Agenda item 11B, and I've heard a lot of talk about it. The reason why it was on the agenda is because I wanted to have the opportunity for the commission, should this ordinance fail, to pass the Stoddard ordinance. The Stoddard ordinance has been voted on and never been voted down. It's always been voted up. So, in fact, as I remember, the vote was 4-1 when we voted to publish and post the Stoddard ordinance. But nevertheless, I don't think we need to have a lot of discussion about it, but we have to either vote up or down or vote to remove, which is, it doesn't matter to me at this point. If we want to vote to remove item 11B from the agenda, or we can vote it up or down.
vote,
Down.
vote.
Vote to remove.
I think you should do it up or down, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second, Madam Clerk?
Vice Chair Ohio?
No.
Commissioner Block?
No.
Commissioner Holden Rhodes?
No.
Commissioner Eichel?
No,
Chair Chapman?
I'd rather have an ordinance than nothing at all, so I'm going to vote yes. All right, thank you very much.
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes.
In references, we have an oil and gas issue on the table. I would like to make a motion to send this back into the public, to the planning and zoning.
Commissioner Eichel, can we have it quiet, please? We're still conducting county business. Can you give us that?
I would like to make a motion for this oil and gas issue to be sent back to the planning and zoning for further review and creation of a better ordinance, and having consultation and with individuals from the county inclusive of the Native American community.
The only issue with what you're proposing, Commissioner, is that we can have that as a motion and a vote by the commission on it, but we have to have it on the agenda. and we don't have it on the agenda tonight. But what you can do is propose it, it'll be on the agenda for our next meeting, and we can vote on that. Okay?
I would like to make that motion then to have it on the agenda for the next meeting in January.
To discuss your initiative.
Yes.
Okay, and what we have to do is have a consensus to do that. So I'll ask the commissioners. Go ahead, Madam Clerk. We can go ahead and ask that question.
I think we need a motion, is that correct?
No, we don't need a motion. We just build a consensus and put it on the agenda. So go ahead and call a roll.
Vice Chair Hyde,
Yes.
Commissioner Block,
Yes.
Commissioner Golden Rhodes,
Only if Commissioner Eichel's motion says that we hold in abeyance any actions until after we get the Mexico Tech report.
You're talking about two different things now. Let's just stick to the initiative that's been put forth by Commissioner Eichwald. You either support that or you don't.
It was important to say.
Do you want to vote, sir? Yes or no?
No,
Commissioner Eichel,
Yes.
Chair Chapman.
Chair votes yes. So we're not deadlocked, folks. Now you know the outcome. Going to move on to our next agenda item, which take a minute to let the room clear. Yeah, 12. Come on up, Mark. 12A, isn't it? 12B. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, sir. You're ready.
Folks, could you quiet down? We're still conducting a meeting here.
Chairman, Council, Chairman's request for a motion to award to bid at Lockheed.
At that point. But
When do you foresee us being able to vote on that? In February?
February, I guess.
First or second meeting in February?
Either one, yes. I mean,
Probably the second one if you have to do.
right.
Yeah.
The reason I say it's ready for presentation and not for is the original calendar that was worked up was that we would actually present it back in October, which didn't happen. And
Right.
then the commission would have a couple months to kind of sit on it and think things through with it and see if they wanted to make changes, and then we would do a motion to
Okay.
publish. But it's ready for presentation. I have the proposed ordinance along with a cover letter that the committee did draft for the commission.
And county manager Mays, we also talked about the climate assessment too, and I would just like to get an update on where we are in January with that. So I'll give you a month to kind of do your homework and get that together.
Well, I can explain to you that we have gone through a number of committee meetings through last month, and we have 5 different committees rotating. We worked from 4 to 6, sometimes till 7 different committees working on all the different issues. And what we're going to do is now roll out some town halls for employees in Cuba and here at this building, and I believe detention center. Thank you. And so we're going to be able to include them and ask them to participate and verify that in fact what supervisors and management have determined to be the solutions are really that we've heard them. And then we'll be able to go forward from that, and we'll have a presentation to the commission.
Will that presentation be in January?
I probably would say more like February, because we're going to meet with the employees in January.
Okay, all right, so that's important to me, it's important to a lot of people. I want to make sure that we're tracking on that, because we did have some, many issues we need to improve on, and I know you guys are working hard on that. And, we just got to keep pressing ahead on that, and I foresee us doing another climate assessment, year after the other one, just to kind of get some good metrics of where we're at.
That's been discussed. Maybe that's just built into the way we move forward. May not be as, we may not need a consultant perhaps, but we built that into something that we just keep track of and work with surveys and idea boxes and that kind of thing. All of those kinds of things have been suggested so that we just build that in as we go forward into
Okay.
what we do.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
If there aren't any more comments, happy holidays, especially to you, Lou. And this meeting is adjourned.